Hi there, and welcome to the 7th episode in our Circle2 tutorial series. Today we're going to be making a sample and hold synth effect. So starting with our initialized patch, we're going to choose our oscillators, and in slot 1 we're going to insert a sawtooth oscillator, and we'll do the same in slot 2. Now in slot 1 we're going to detune by an octave, which is 12 semitones, and slot 2 we're going to detune by 5 semitones. Now in slot 1 we're going to pull the fine tuning down by 5, and we'll just push the fine tuning up by 5 in slot 2. This is going to give some nice movement to the sound. And now going into oscillator slot 3, we're going to insert a wavetable oscillator, and by clicking on this button here we're going to select our first waveform, which is going to be the car. And then we're going to insert our second waveform by clicking on this button here, and we're going to use Monaco. And we're just slightly going to adjust a mix of these waveforms by pulling down this slider here. And now going into our mixer section, we'll just create a balance of these sounds. So we'll push up the level of oscillator 2 to full, and then just push up oscillator 3 slightly. And that should now give us something like this. Okay, and we're now going to go into our filter section, and this is where things get a bit more interesting. So because the filter in Circle2 is an analog modeled filter, self-oscillation occurs when extremely high resonance settings are used. So what that means is we can use this filter in itself as an extra sound source. So we're going to pull down the frequency a bit and then push the resonance up to max here. Okay, and now when we apply some modulation to this frequency cutoff, you'll be able to hear the self-oscillation. So to get the sample hold effect, we will turn on this slot here and insert a sequencer. So what I've done is saved a sub preset that I know is going to sound nice, and that is this one here. So what you can do is either redraw this one or work out a one for yourself, or randomize one even. And if you look at this, we have notes selected here, which means that these steps are in semitone steps. We have the rate pushed up to about 2/3 of the way up, and we have sync and retrig selected. So taking this sequencer now, we're going to apply it to modulate the frequency of the filter. And if I turn off these oscillators now, you'll be able to hear what the sound of that self-oscillating filter sounds like. So that's a really interesting sound already. And next we're just going to add some effects to the sound. So opening the panel here, we'll turn on the first slot and insert a chorus so we can add some width. And going into the presets, we'll just try light chorus. And then we can add a bit more width and interest with a ping pong echo here. And we'll select sync and just offset these delay times slightly. And then we'll just add some reverb on the end to place the sound in an acoustic space. So that's sounding really nice and interesting now. Perhaps one more bit of interest we can add to the sound would be to add some frequency cutoff modulation here. So we'll just turn on this LFO and then assign it to control the frequency cutoff. We'll then select sync so it stays in time with the rest of the track, and we'll just pull down the rate slightly, and we'll pull down the level 2 just so that this is quite a subtle modulation. Okay, so that's sounding like a really interesting sound now, and using the self-oscillating filter is quite an unusual sound design technique, so we'll definitely add something unique to your tracks. So I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial today, and don't forget that you can download the patch we've just made in the video description.